The Lantern Man. It was just past midnight when Officer Mallory Trent's patrol car crested the hill leading down into Thistle Hollow. She sighed, her breath fogging up the chilled air inside the car. The night had been unforgivingly still. One of those nights where the only sound seemed to be the muted hum of the car engine and the occasional rustle of wind through the pine trees that lined the road. That night felt off. The darkness was heavier than usual, like it was sitting on her shoulders, pressing down with invisible weight. She didn't like coming to Thistle Hollow, not after what had happened a few years back, not after what everyone had been saying since then. But someone had called in a disturbance, and protocol was protocol. A strange light spotted out by the lake. Probably nothing more than some teenagers messing around with flashlights or lanterns, maybe even a late-night fishing trip. Still, dispatch had sounded urgent, and her gut told her something wasn't right. The people in Thistle Hollow didn't joke about the lake. Not after the stories. Her headlights flickered as she approached the final bend, the trees thinning out to reveal the moonlit expanse of Thistle Lake. The gravel road crackled under the tires, the sound far too loud in the quiet night. Mallory's eyes scanned the area as she pulled into the parking lot by the lake. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow on the surface of the water, which was unusually calm. A perfect black mirror reflecting the skeletal outline of trees and the pale crescent above. The lake had always given Mallory the creeps. As a kid, she'd heard all the local legends, stories of strange disappearances, whispers of ghostly figures wandering the shores, and of course, the tale of the Lantern Man. Locals claimed he was a spirit, a lost soul cursed to wander the lake forever, luring the curious to their doom with his eerie blue lantern. Supposedly, he was a fisherman who had died years ago, though the circumstances of his death were always vague, changing with each retelling. But the core of the story remained the same. On nights when the moon was bright and the air was still, his lantern could be seen hovering over the water, and anyone who saw it would be drawn to follow, only to vanish without a trace. Mallory didn't believe in ghosts. At least, that's what she told herself every time she had to come out here. But there were things she'd experienced in her time on the force. Things that defied explanation. Things that left her with a pit in her stomach and cold sweat on her skin. She wasn't about to let her guard down tonight. The engine died with a click, leaving her in an oppressive silence. The air seemed thicker here, harder to breathe. She reached for her flashlight, the metal cold in her hand, and stepped out of the car. Her boots crunched against the gravel, the sound unnaturally loud in the otherwise still night. There was something deeply unsettling about the silence. No crickets, no wind rustling the trees, nothing but the faint, distant lapping of water against the shore. A chill ran down her spine, and she wrapped her jacket tighter around herself, her breath visible in the cool night air. She scanned the shoreline with her flashlight, sweeping the beam across the dark water. Then she saw it, a faint light hovering just above the lake's surface, barely visible through the mist rising from the water. It was too far out to make out clearly, but it wasn't a flashlight. It was too dim, too strange. Probably kids, she muttered under her breath, though even she didn't believe that. It was too cold for kids to be out here, and the locals wouldn't dare come to the lake this late, not after the last disappearance. She tried to shake off the creeping dread building in her chest. It was just a light, just someone out there with a lantern, messing around. The beam of her flashlight flickered over the trees, the brush, and the dark water again, but her eyes were drawn back to the light. It hadn't moved. It just hovered there, too far out on the water to be anything ordinary. She took a few hesitant steps toward the shoreline, her eyes fixed on the distant glow. As she neared the water's edge, the cold intensified, biting at her skin. The stillness of the lake was unnatural. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. Her fingers twitched toward her radio, but she hesitated. What was she going to say? That she saw a weird light? Dispatch would laugh her off the air. "Hey," she called out, her voice cracking slightly. It seemed to be swallowed up by the night. "You out there? This is the police. You need to get back to shore." No response. The light bobbed slightly, as if swaying in the wind, though there wasn't even a breeze. Mallory took a deep breath and stepped closer, her boots sinking slightly into the soft, muddy shore. She clicked on her radio. "Dispatch, this is Officer Trent. I'm at Thistle Lake by the shore. I've got eyes on an unidentified light about 50 yards out on the water. Could be a boater. Gonna check it out?"